Hey everybody, welcome back to Sensei Steve Says, hosted by Shiage Do Martial Arts. Today we're going to be working with Tonfa, one of the few Okinawan weapons we haven't had the opportunity to talk about much in depth. These are one of my personal favorites, and in fact, these are Tonfa that I made myself. The Okinawans used to use these as like a mill handle. Basically, when you have a flour mill or some kind of large stone mill, if you create a handle as part of the stone, if it ever breaks off, you have to get a whole new millstone. So what they would do is use like the tonfa as a key system, so they'd be able to just put a new one in, use it as a handle, because these are fairly simple to make. It's just a handle and a rod with, basic tools and a little bit of patience. You could build a set of these without any kind of real issue. So these were more of a definitely a peasant weapon. However, they were so effective that effectively the people fell in love with them, and even now the law enforcement community uses something very similar to this, which is called the PR-24. Which is effectively just a tonfa with an extendable long portion. They are incredibly useful for joint locks and tying up people like that, because it's just a short staff. They're really good for blocking and defending yourself, because you're holding it effectively against your arm, kind of like a sai, except this is even more ergonomic to be able to sit against your arm and to pull in tight. And because it's a smaller surface area at the ends, you can do some real damage with it, whether you're punching with it, stabbing with it, or using it as like a hammer or a baton to strike with. So you could do some real oomph with these. So we're going to start off really easy. We're going to go through some basics, and then I'm going to walk you through a kata. So if I'm holding on to tonfa, we're going to start with just one at a time. What I want to do is hold it on the bottom of my arm, so that my thumb is towards the large part of the grip. Now on some tonfa, that large portion of the grip is not very pronounced, and what you'll find with those is you tend to have to keep sliding your hand down. That's okay, you can use those for practice. If you're ever buying a pair of tonfa for yourself, what you really want to do is measure that grip size, so that the end of the knob here rides on the inside of your thumb, and it's much more comfortable and much easier to have for continued use. So you're going to hold it right against your forearm like this. So if we have it against our forearm, our strikes and techniques are going to be pretty similar to regular closed fist techniques. I can do my punches. I can do like a hammer fist with the end of the tonfa here, the short end, right? I can come in and punch with an actual punch, where I punch with my fist, and much like with a kubutan or a smaller baton, if I'm punching here, this grip part is actually reinforcing my knuckles, so that if I do make contact with that part, the chances of me breaking my fingers are much lower. I can also rake with the inside of the grip end here. It's just going to be for a different application. This might be a punch to a pressure point or a sensitive target, whereas this one's going to be a rake across a nerve to cause a lot more pain but a lot less damage. Additionally, I can open it up. From here I can do the same thing. I can do my stabs, right? The reinforcement against my wrist is going to be a little bit less, so my striking is going to be less effective, but I can do a lot of good blocks from here. So I can come in down blocks, side blocks, head blocks. I'm going to effectively do the same thing as an open hand techniques, right? Because that's the orientation of this. Here, I have these strong blocks with a nice thick piece of wood that'll slow down even sharp implements. A knife is probably not going to make it through this. A sword will definitely get slowed down by this. What I recommend, you go out and block a sword, somebody trying to cut your arm off. no, I would recommend you not being there in the first place. But it will slow down an awful lot. And I would expect, if it's a well-made, well-crafted tonfa, that a sword is going to have a harder time with it. This is made out of hickory. It's the same thing you make axe handles out of. And if you've ever used an axe and you know how many times you miss with it when you're just smashing it and how long it takes that to break, the chances of you breaking these are very slim. And that's why I made them like this. So we've got our strong blocks here. We can also, just like the side, do open blocks where we come down, across, and up here to give us a little bit more range. I can also do push blocks as kind of a pushing across, where it's still getting reinforced. I can also do push blocks with my forearm across. As far as striking with it open, I can slash like almost like a nunchuck, if you think about it. That rotation is going to be very similar to a nunchuck if you're looking for something to compare it to. So I can do my figure eights as a kind of a guard, just like on a nunchuck, or I can slash through, and just like the nunchuck, I want to slash through in order to get that power. Okay, in a minute when we do some Hama Higa, that's going to be one of the more prominent techniques. I can also hold it by the short end here, and it effectively just turns into an eskrima. I can block, I can use the grip to kind of create a fork for the block, just like a sai, where I'm going to catch something and knock it out of the way. I can catch and knock it out of the way. I can do that in any direction. I can use it as a baton, so I can come across or sideways to block that way. Or if I were so inclined, I can hold it against my arm here, so I would be able to theoretically hammer fist. This is a little less likely to strike with, but I can hold it against my arm, so if I'm using this in a fight and this breaks, and this is now just either a short or sharp portion, I don't have to grab onto it. I can keep it against my forearm here and still use it. If I grab it by the long end here, I still have my prong here, so I can block and knock things to the side, block and knock things to the side, or even, you know, a strike with like a web to the throat where it comes up and strikes on both sides and kind of can push back. But I can also use this now as like a hammer or a tomahawk of some kind, where I'm coming across and I'm striking with that point, plus the centripetal force of being at the end of a handle. So you can do some real damage with that. And then two hands, you're basically just doing the same thing. I've got my punches, I've got my strikes, both sideways, down, up, diagonals, you know, where I can swing and strike. And then if you really feel like playing with some coordination, you can transition from a grip to a grip, basically just by rolling it over the back of your hand. That one's kind of fun. Don't practice that one in your living room, kids, because if you throw this at your mom's china cabinet, she will not be happy with you or with me, and I don't need that in my life. So let's try to keep that to a minimum. If I were doing a kata with this, I would probably pick Seimchin. If I were just practicing to get used to them, this holding onto Tonfa tends to be kind of a stronger, more defensive, less mobile kind of weapon, in my opinion. That's not to say it's the only way of doing it, but I think that in order to kind of learn how to use it, it's a lot of forearm strikes, forearm blocks, and it tends to be less mobile in the wrist. Even though it can give some distance to you, it's not giving a ton. So the majority of your stuff is going to be in close. So Seimchin, where I come up here, this motion would be how I would probably start that kata out. If you're looking for a challenge, try Kusanku. Hama Higa actually has quite a bit in common with Kusanku. You'll see the double blocks here. So if you're looking for a challenge to kind of get to the feel of these things, my suggestion would be to try that. But with that, these things are pretty solid. I like these a lot. You can take a real hit, and it spreads it out over your whole forearm. Unlike a sai, where I have to go. A sai where I have to concentrate on where on my arm this is actually sitting to be able to block it, because if it rotates around, it won't necessarily block it on the side, it'll block it with my arm. With my Tonfa, even the ones that I didn't make, the thinner ones, it's a much larger portion of my arm. It's a much thicker defensive area. And so therefore it takes more force and spreads it out better. Okay, because I've got all this area to sit here and just absorb this on. And this thing has a lot of mass. These things probably weigh about a pound, pound and a half a piece. The lighter ones obviously are probably at about 10 to 12 ounces, so somewhere around 3/4 of a pound each. But they can take a lot of a lot of a strike and absorb that into the mass. So that's going to be kind of useful if you're fighting somebody bigger and stronger than you. Hama Higa is really simple. I'm going to go through it, and we're going to see how we do. All right? So, Yasumi, Kyotsuke, Rei, Hama Higa no Tonfa. What we're going to do is we're going to kick our feet out and our heels out as we bring we're going to clap them together and come to a guard. I'm going to come to the left, and just like in Kusanku, I'm going to take a guard, start with a punch, a figure 8, strike down, strike up, strike to the ribs, and punch. Okay? Come back to the other side. Here, same thing. Punch, figure 8, strike down, strike up to the ribs, and punch. Coming with the right side, we're going to X block. We're going to X block. From here, I'm sorry, the wrong side here. Left hand, head block, punch, punch, and I'm going to swing down with my right hand. So I'm coming down at the collarbone with my right hand. I'm going to look to the other side, finish that technique that I started here. So it's going to come around to the other side with a figure 8. Head, uppercut, punch. And then I start the whole series. Punch, figure 8, strike down, strike up, punch. I'm going to come to the front and guard. And then I step out to these. So I come out here, figure 8, big swing down. I'm going to avoid the sweep. This one's a block. That's why I'm getting my foot out of the way. Somebody's coming and striking at my leg, so I get it out of the way. Punch, come to the other side. Here, figure 8, strike down at the punch, punch. I'm going to come in, X block. From here, what I'm going to do is come out, strike to the ribs, bring it back, and strike down on the collarbones. Bring it back to a guard. I'm going to step with my left foot to right foot forward, horse stance, peace move, step in, peace move to the back, and then our full series. Punch, figure 8, strike down, strike up, punch. Same thing the other side. Punch, figure 8s, strike down, strike up, punch. Step with the right, double block, come in, X block. Okay? We're going to come to the side, guard. These are big figure 8s. Block, 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 strike down, strike up, punch. Same thing, other side, guard, big figure 8s. Strike down, strike up, punch. Come with a strong block. Kiai, us. Come back together and finish. Hama Higa is a fun kata to learn. If you've never done Tonfa, it's a very basic kata to learn. One of these days, I'm also going to pull up Sun Kwa, which I have written down. Sun Kwa is not an Isshin Ryu kata, but it was taught to me by Kaito Chris Chase of the OIKKA. So I'm not well practiced in that one, but I do enjoy every once in a while going and doing a different kata one that I don't necessarily practice, just to kind of give my mind a different way of thinking about something. I love Tonfa. Frankly, if I had to pick one of my weapons, you know, to be my like carry weapon, it would be a tie between this and a bow. Just because they're so easy to just kind of stick in your hip and forget about, and so versatile, things you can do with it, and not even just as a weapon sense. If I were walking around with these, you know, to be able to grab something and pull it towards you when you're feeling lazy on the couch, you need to get your remote, you know, you can pull it over, or whatever you got to do. But these are one of my favorites, just in terms of the variety of things that you can do with them. Couple quick announcements, because that's the end of the instruction that I have for you for today. And actually before that, when you learn a new weapon, sometimes it's important just to play with it. And I'm not saying like play with it as in like blow holes in the ceiling or smash walls or do anything like that. What I'm saying is do kata, do your basics, do different things where you're manipulating the weapon with your hands, trying to get it to do different things. When you get confident that you kind of got a good feel for how it works and how it maneuvers, have somebody do a couple like slow strikes at you with a bow or with sai, and see how it feels to block with that, right? These feel very solid when you're blocking with it. The only thing that feels more solid than this, in my opinion, to block with is a bow. And that's one of the reasons why I like these so much. So practice through, do some katas. Like I said, do Seiyun Shin. If you're looking for a challenge, try Kusanku. Okay, you're gonna feel it's going to be a challenge to try to do a kata like Kusanku with Tonfa in your hand. Not impossible by any means. You just got to get creative. Couple announcements. Fridays are Zoom classes. If you guys are one of our YouTube members, you want to get in on our Zoom classes, jump in with our Patreon page. Patreon supporters have the opportunity to get to Zoom classes. We do some private lessons, some distance learning, stuff like that, which is really cool to be able to offer that. If you're one of my in-person students, we got our COVID kata classes coming up. Those are going to be on the Saturdays of this month, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. So we'll be doing those. Check your emails. It should have been with the newsletter for the sign up for those. And lastly, we're doing a 30 in 30 challenge for June. 30 miles in 30 days. Basically, the goal is to do a mile a day of running or jogging throughout the whole month. You're welcome to do it. If it's a bad weather day, you want to do 2 miles the next day, you're welcome to do that. If you want to do more than 30, what we're doing is for the person who comes back that has the most miles traveled, we're doing a limited edition t-shirt. It's going to be awesome. I'm about halfway done with the drawing itself, so I'll be bringing that up so you guys can see it pretty soon. But that'll be a lot of fun. To our YouTube subscribers, thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you can keep up with our new content. We are in New York, which means that we are a victim of all of the closures and stuff like that. I don't live anywhere near New York City, but unfortunately they kind of dictate how quickly we can open. Once we can open to in-person classes, the format of our YouTube channel is going to change slightly. We're not going to be doing 4 videos a week, but we are going to continue to create videos for distance learning, if you guys are interested in that. But some of it's going to be, it's all going to be at the dojo. It's going to have people other than just me. It's going to kind of open up our ability to teach you guys a couple different things, a couple cool things that you can practice where it's not just yourself. Karate is, it is a personal sport, it is a personal journey, but it helps when you have another person because that's what self-defense is. You can't defend yourself against yourself, not with karate. It doesn't work like that. All right, unless you're Dwight Schrute. But with that, that's all I got. You guys are awesome. Keep on keeping on and getting after it. You guys are dismissed. Us!